All right, we're once again on the record in the case of People versus Simpson. The defendant is present with counsel. The people are represented. We need to have the witness return to the witness stand, please. I bet you know what I'm going to say.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've previously been sworn and remain under oath. Please have a seat. Mr. Shapiro, do you wish to withdraw your last question?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
Detective Vannatter, prior to the time that you examined the cut on the index finger of Mr. Simpson, did you have any information as to the possible source of that cut?
Same objection.
Overruled. You can answer yes or no.
I'm trying to think about that. I believe, I don't really recall whether I do or not at this point, or whether I did or not at this point.
In any event, other than photographing it, you took no steps to ascertain anything else regarding the cut?
Well, no, that's not totally true. I asked the nurse that took the blood sample to look at and cleanse and put a Band-Aid on the wound.
Other than that, did you have anyone else examine that wound for age, type of wound, the way the wound was inflicted, or any other indicia that would be important regarding that wound?
No, sir.
Now, that wound is described as being in the index finger of the left hand?
It's on the middle finger of the left hand on the large knuckle. The main wound is on the large knuckle.
And did you compare the location of that wound to a glove that was found either at Bundy or Rockingham?
No, sir, I didn't.
Has anybody under your direction looked at the glove to see whether or not there is a slice in the glove on the middle finger of the left hand that would coincide with the injury Mr. Simpson suffered when you observed him?
Yes, I had the glove looked at.
And what conclusions have been drawn?
I was informed that there was no slice on the glove that would correspond with that injury.
Is it your opinion, based on your investigation, that the murderer was wearing gloves at the time?
Yes.
Do you have any opinion as to how the glove got to the location on Rockingham?
Yes, I certainly do.
And what is that?
My opinion of how the glove got to the location on Rockingham.
Yes.
Well, I believe at the time of the murder, the person was wearing gloves, and during the struggle with the man, one of the gloves was dropped at the crime scene, and the other glove was then transported to Rockingham.
And how did it end up in the debris in Rockingham, in your opinion?
Well, from looking at the scene and from knowing all the circumstances that surround that, I believe it was dropped back there by the person that transported it up to that location, doing whatever he was doing behind there that created the loud thumps on the wall.
And so I would take it you would have the criminalist search that area for blood drops.
Yes.
And did you have the criminalist search that area for blood drops?
Yes.
Were any found?
Not to my knowledge.
I would take it you would have the criminalist check on that area to see if there were any footprints with blood on it.
Yes.
Did you have that done?
I even looked at it myself. There was a lot of debris and leaves lying on the walkway.
Were there any bloody footprints in that area?
I didn't see any, sir, no.
I take it you'd want to determine whether or not, prior to investigator Fuhrman going back there, whether or not anybody else walked in that area. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand that.
Prior to investigator Fuhrman going to that area, did you make any determination as to whether anyone else had walked in that area?
Prior to Detective Fuhrman going there?
Yes.
I was not aware of the location until Detective Fuhrman told me about it.
Well, was there any attempt made when Detective Fuhrman went back there to preserve that area so there would be no disturbance of any potential evidence that may be recovered?
Yes, I instructed the criminalist to protect it, protect the piece of evidence, and protect the area. Before I left there, yes.
Was there any determination made as to whether anybody had walked back there before Detective Fuhrman?
I don't know that that could be done with the type of debris that was on the walkway. I would have to say, no, there was no determination made.
Was there any determination made as to whether or not that glove could have been thrown over a fence into the area?
I don't know how that could be determined. I don't know.
Was there any determination made as to whether or not that glove could have been dropped out of a bathroom window?
Objection, how could, counsel's asking for an impossibility. How could such a thing ever be determined?
Sustained.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Was there any determination made that would show any difference between the age of the linings of the two gloves?
Not to my knowledge, not at this time, no.
You were present during the coroner's autopsy,
Yes, sir.
and you've been in contact with the criminalist,
Yes, sir.
and you were in charge of one of the crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Which one was that?
The one on Rockingham.
And did you properly secure that crime scene to preserve evidence?
I believe I did, yes.
Did you properly preserve the Ford Bronco to preserve evidence?
I attempted to. I believe I did, yes.
How did you preserve the Ford Bronco for future evidence?
I had officers at the scene. I instructed them to protect and preserve the items as well as the Ford, and I instructed the officers to have the vehicle impounded to the print shed, Los Angeles Police Department print shed.
To your knowledge, were those directions followed?
I would hope so.
Do you know if they were or not?
No, because I was not at the scene there for a long period of time.
Do you have any reports, or have you heard from any officer that coffee stains from members of the media were on the Bronco after you secured the crime scene?
No, sir, I'm not aware of that.
Do you have any information that after you secured the crime scene, the Bronco was towed to Vitarelli's tow truck yard?
That's a possibility. I'm not aware of that either, sir.
That wouldn't be something that you directed, would it?
Well, that could be done because the tow service for West Los Angeles Division, each area has a separate tow service. It could have been taken there before it was brought to the print shed. I didn't know that.
Well, you wouldn't do that as somebody who had secured evidence to have some tow truck driver take it to a tow yard, would you?
Well, that's what normally happens with vehicles that we impound. They're normally impounded by the tow service that's in that area.
And is that a proper way of preserving evidence, in your opinion?
It's about the only way that we can move a vehicle without driving it.
Is it a proper way of preserving evidence to have an independent tow truck driver tow a car by himself to an impound yard?
Well, they're not independent. They're OPG tow services, which are our official police garages that are licensed by the police commission. And that is normally done from each area that you're in. Each area would have its own OPG service. Yes, I think that's a proper way of protecting it.
So as one of the lead homicide detectives in Los Angeles Police Department, you feel secure that you can leave a scene, have an unknown tow truck driver come hook up a
Objection,
piece...
this is argumentative.
Sustained.
Haven't even finished. Gets better. You weren't aware that that happened, though?
Aware
Objection's
that
vague. What?
All right, tell us what happened to your knowledge, what happened to the Ford Bronco from the time you left it at the crime scene on Rockingham?
I don't know, sir. I wasn't there.
Well, why don't you look at your book or your notes or your chronological record, or talk to some of your fellow detectives and see if you can answer that question.
Well, objection, Your Honor. This witness is the one who's being posed the question now. If counsel wants to ask the question of another witness who may have personal knowledge, he's free to do so. But to direct this witness to run around and talk to people and look through books is an improper question.
Sustained as to the form of your question,
I
Mr.
thought
Shapiro.
you said he was in charge of the investigation at Rockingham.
Do you have that kind of information available in your murder book?
Your Honor, there should be a tow record on the vehicle in the murder book, yes. A vehicle report that would indicate that the vehicle was towed.
You were present, you told us, at the coroner's autopsy?
Yes.
You talked to the criminalist?
Talk to
Have you talked to a criminalist in this case?
yes, the Los Angeles Police Department criminalist.
Have you
Yes.
talked to more than one criminalist from Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes.
How many are involved in this case?
Well, I know of 3 personally. Would you like me to name them?
Yes, please.
Well, Mrs. Kessler, who's the assistant lab director, has assisted. Colin Yamauchi.
Objection, Your Honor. I think counsel's question was vague, and it's drawing an answer that indicates how vague it was. If counsel could be more specific in his question to Detective Vannatter to indicate whether he means the criminalist that goes to the crime scene, does the field work, or the ones that are serologists that work in the lab dealing with the analysis of the physical evidence. They are 2 different things.
The objection's overruled. Yamauchi, Kessler.
And Dennis Fall.
Are you aware that the Los Angeles Police Department went to a location known as Ross's Cutlery and purchased a stiletto knife?
Yes.
Was that stiletto knife, to your knowledge, shown or described to the coroner?
Yes.
Which one? Was it shown?
Shown to the coroner.
Was it shown or described to the criminalist?
I don't believe so.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not a stiletto knife substantially similar to the one you purchased was the murder weapon in this case?
That's way outside my field of expertise. I would have no answer to that.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Clark, do you have any additional questions?
I do, Your Honor. Detective Vannatter, can you think of a reason why you would want to show the knife purchased from Ross Cutlery to a criminalist?
No.
It's not a knife recovered from a crime scene, was it?
No.
And with respect to the 3 people you named as criminalists in this case, of the 3 you named, how many were involved in the field work, by which I mean outside at crime scenes collecting evidence?
Only one, Dennis Fall.
Did you see any bloody shoe prints on the driveway of 360 Rockingham?
No.
As a matter of fact, you were at the original crime scene at 875 South Bundy, is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And you followed, I think you indicated yesterday, the blood trail that led from the bodies of the victims out to the alleyway behind the residence?
That's correct, yes.
Were the bloody shoe prints to the right of those blood drops visible the entire path next to the blood drops that were found all the way to the back of the residence?
You could see portions of the shoe prints, yes.
Were they equally dark from the beginning of the trail to the end?
No.
By the time you got out to the alley, could you see shoe prints at all?
No.
Are you familiar, sir, with a report or a paper with notes on it pertaining to a 459 at 874 South Bundy? Suspects there now?
Yes, I have some knowledge of that.
Can you tell us, enlighten us as to what that pertains to, or how that came about, if you know?
I can tell you what I was informed of.
Yes.
I was informed by a uniformed officer, and I can't recall his name, that night at the scene, that call was generated because the 2 original people that found the crime scene knocked on a person's door who wouldn't answer the door, and this person called the police and reported that they thought there were burglary suspects there.
And those 2 people, were those the witnesses that you located for the preliminary hearing, Shukru Bostepi and Bettina Rasmussen?
That's correct, yes.
All right. Sir, do you have any knowledge of the nature of the West LA impound yard in terms of its conditions of security?
Personal knowledge?
Yes.
No.
have you, in general, are police impound yards secure with respect to having some kind of barricade or gate within which vehicles that have been impounded can be locked?
Yes, definitely.
To your knowledge, is that the case with every police impound yard?
Every one I've ever seen, yes.
And is it your information that that is the same condition for the West LA impound yard, that that is also an area that is secure with respect to cars that have been impounded and placed there?
I'm sure that it is, yes.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro?
Detective, were any reports generated that indicate a police officer said that this 459 report was a result of two people knocking on the door?
Not to my knowledge, sir, no.
And that report was put out on a police radio at 10 minutes after 12, isn't that correct?
That's what I was told, yes.
And to your knowledge, what time were the bodies found?
10 minutes after 12?
That was the first finding of the bodies?
Yes.
Thank you, nothing further.
Anything further, Ms. Clark?
I have nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. You
Thank
may
you,
step
Your Honor.
down. Next witness.
People call Thano Paratus. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. Can I recall Detective Lange very briefly?
All right.
One very small matter.
You've previously been sworn to remain under oath. State your name, please.
Tom Lange, Lange.
Thank you.
Sir, you earlier indicated that on People's 20, I believe, the photograph A pertained to the rear gate of the location of 875 South Bundy.
Yes.
And were you a little disturbed by that at the time that you were testifying to it?
Yes,
Sustained.
Did you, after concluding your testimony this morning, approach me to say that you wanted to review your notes and Did you approach me after you concluded your testimony this morning, sir?
Yes.
And for what purpose did you approach me?
I was unhappy with my identification of photograph A as being the rear gate, and I believed it to be the front gate.
And did you go back and ascertain whether that was correct? What was
Yes,
correct?
I did. Photograph A is indeed of the front gate, not the rear gate.
Photograph A is the front gate of 875 South Bundy,
That's correct.
and you were mistaken when you earlier testified that it was the rear gate.
That's correct.
I have nothing further.
Any questions? Thank you. You may step down.
Thank you.
People call Thano Paratus.
Okay. Face the clerk, sir, and raise your right hand.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated.
Right up here, sir.
State and spell your name for the record.
Thano Paratis, Thano Peratis.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Paratus, sir, can you tell us what you do for a living?
I'm a registered nurse.
You're a registered nurse?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you qualified to draw blood from people?
Yes,
How long have you been a registered nurse?
about 40 years.
And where are you employed as a registered nurse?
Parker Center Jail.
At Parker Center Jail? Is that yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you so employed on the date of June the 13th, 1994?
Yes,
Have you received some training in a medically approved manner of taking blood from people in a way that does not contaminate the blood?
yes,
And did you, on June the 13th, 1994, remove a blood sample from someone you recognize in court today?
yes.
Could you please point that person out?
A gentleman over there.
And what's he wearing right now?
I didn't hear you.
What is he wearing right now, for the record?
A black suit.
Are you referring to the defendant here, Mr. Simpson?
Oh, the defendant. Maybe I misunderstood you.
Yes, who are you referring to that you took blood from in this court?
Oh, yes, the defendant.
Indicating Mr. Simpson.
And how did you do that?
Oh, I put a tourniquet on his arm and cleaned the arm with Zephyrin and took a syringe with a needle and withdrew the blood and put the blood into a test tube.
Was that a sterile test tube?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you seal the test tube?
The tube was sealed. It had a rubber stopper on it.
It already had a rubber stopper
Yes.
on it? How did you get the blood into it?
I stuck the needle into it and then injected it.
And then you just withdrew the needle?
Then withdrew the needle with the syringe.
And did that leave the test tube then secure with the blood in it?
Yes.
And what did you do with that vial of blood?
I handed the tube to Detective Vannatter.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro?
Do you remember, sir, which arm you drew the blood from?
The right arm.
Did you make any observations of any injuries of Mr. Simpson at the time?
I'm sorry?
Did you observe any injuries on Mr. Simpson at the time you withdrew the blood?
Not at that time, no.
At some time, did you?
After Mr. Simpson, after I put a bandage up Mr. Simpson's arm, I was asked, I can't remember if it was by Mr. Simpson or one of the detectives, if I would dress a wound on his finger.
And did you do that?
Yes, sir.
Where was the wound?
It was on his left hand, on his left middle finger.
Did you examine the wound?
Just a cursory examination. I just looked at it and I cleaned it, with, which is what we routinely do. And then I put a dressing on it.
Did you determine the age of the wound?
Not really. It was a little difficult to determine the age. It looked like between 12 and 24 hours, but I really couldn't say.
Did you ascertain the cause of the wound?
No. It just looked like a little small cut.
In the last 5 years, how many times have you conducted a similar type of examination for somebody from the Robbery Homicide Division?
Objection, irrelevant.
Sustained.
How much blood did you withdraw from Mr. Simpson?
Approximately 8 cc's.
You say approximately, you did not measure the amount?
Well, it could have been 7.9 or it could have been 8.1.
And
I just looked at the syringe and looked at about 8 cc's. I withdrew the needle from his arm.
nobody asked you to take a precise amount of
No.
blood? And you did not record the amount of blood you took?
No, it's just routinely, that's about the amount I usually draw.
And you do this on a routine basis every day? Do you do this every day in the jail, take blood?
Oh, whenever, not for this sort of thing, it's usually for alcohol, blood alcohol,
But you do take blood on a
Yes.
regular basis? And you take the same amount of blood?
yes.
Where did you get the tube from that you put the blood into?
We have a a drawer in the dispensary that has tubes in it. And I asked Detective Vannatter to go to that drawer, take the tube out with the purple top, and put Mr. Simpson's name on it and the date, and then hand it to me.
Are there any lot numbers on the tubes that you used?
I believe there are.
Did you record the lot?
No, we don't record that.
Did you record any information as to an inventory regarding the tube that was used to save this blood?
No, it's not a routine procedure that we do.
Did you put any preservative in the tube?
The preservative was already in the tube.
Did you check that before you put
Well,
Mr. Simpson's blood in?
It's in there, and it's understood that it's in there. And its preservative is called EDTA, and I don't know what those initials mean.
Did you put the preservative in
No,
there?
it's in there.
Did you see someone put it in
No,
there?
they come that way.
Did you shake the blood after you put it into the
Yes.
tube? For how long did you shake it?
Oh, about 10 seconds,
How did you shake it?
just over and over like this.
For the record, the witness was making a gesture with his hand as though it was a fist, something in it, and turning it palm down, palm up.
All right.
Have you ever seen that blood sample again?
No,
Do you know what Detective Vannatter did with that blood sample?
I don't know. I have an idea what is supposed to be done with it, but I don't know what he did with it.
Did you see what he did with it?
Well, he put it in an envelope,
What kind of envelope did he put
a
it in?
gray envelope that has an affidavit on it that I signed.
A gray envelope?
Yes,
And it had an affidavit?
yes.
What did the affidavit say?
Oh, it refers to the fact that I drew the blood on such and such a date, and I handed it to Detective Vannatter.
Did you get a copy of that affidavit?
No, that affidavit goes with the officer that takes the blood.
Did you indicate on that affidavit how much blood you drew?
No.
Yes.
I have a document here that's medical records for persons in custody. Is this what you referred to as an affidavit?
Well, why don't you show it to the witness, counsel?
Yes, could you show it to the witness so he knows exactly what you're referring to,
Yes.
please?
This is called a medical treatment record.
That's not the affidavit?
No, sir.
Let's see if we have the affidavit. This is not one. Do you have the affidavit? Does the affidavit remain on the envelope, do you know?
It is printed on the envelope. It's a gray envelope that all blood goes into. There's an affidavit on it
Recall
inside.
what time you drew this blood?
Yes, sir, blood drawn, at 2:30. I think I have it on there as 14:30.
Was there a physician on duty at the time?
No, sir.
Are there any physicians at the jail?
Yes.
I have nothing further, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark, anything further?
One question, Your Honor.
You always have one.
I know. It might be a prosecutor's last word thing. Sir, do you have knowledge of whether those vials that you use to withdraw blood are prepackaged vials?
Yes, they are prepackaged.
Are they all the same size?
Yes, those are about 10 cc vials. We have some smaller ones, but we don't use them.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Shapiro?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Please do not discuss your testimony with anyone.
People called Dennis Fung?
Mr. Fung, you've previously been sworn and remain under oath. Please have a seat in the witness stand and state and spell your name.
My name is Dennis Fung, D-E-N-N-I-S-F-U-N-G.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what is your job?
I am a criminalist employed by the Los Angeles Police Department.
What kind of criminalist are you?
I am assigned to the Firearms Analysis Unit right now, and I am, my job title is Criminalist 3, and that is one of the criminalists who also is a training officer for new criminalists in crime scene processing.
How long have you been a criminalist for the Los Angeles Police Department?
I've been a criminalist for almost 10 years.
Can you tell us, sir, what academic degrees you've achieved at this point?
I have a Bachelor of Science degree in criminalistics from the California State University at Long Beach. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in chemistry from the California State University at Long Beach. And those are my degrees there.
And what kind of, if any, on-the-job training have you had?
I have received training from supervisors and other criminalists in the laboratory in crime scene processing. I have attended seminars put on by the American Academy of Forensic Sciences and the California Association of Criminalists regarding crime scene processing and reconstruction. While in college, I did an internship with the Orange County Sheriff's Department, in which part of the internship was to go out with their forensic specialists and observe them processing crime scenes. And part of my coursework in college involved processing of mock crime scenes.
Have you attended any seminars concerning crime scene processing, sir?
Yes, I have. In 1991, I attended an American Academy of Forensic Sciences seminar, and in 1988, a seminar put on by the California Association of Criminalists.
Could you please explain for us what crime scene processing means?
Crime scene processing involves the recognition and identification of potential evidence, also the documenting the location of that evidence and maintaining a chain of custody for that evidence, and the proper collection and packaging of evidence to preserve its integrity.
Are there any associations, professional associations, that you're a member of, sir?
Yes, I am a member of the California Association of Criminalists. I've been a member since 1984, and I am a provisional member of the Association of firearm and tool mark examiners since 1992.
Are you involved in the training of any other criminalists more junior than yourself?
Yes, I am. As I stated before, I'm one of the training officers for the newer criminalists in crime scene processing.
And have you done that in any other location other than the one you're doing presently?
I also have assisted in the training of West Valley Bureau detectives. We put on a crime scene seminar for them back in, I think it was 1989.
Now, is it part of your training to learn how to properly package and preserve evidence that you've collected from a crime scene?
Yes, it is.
And to properly document that evidence?
Yes.
Is it part of your duty to maintain the chain of custody and the integrity of the evidence that you collect?
Yes.
Is there any kind of analysis, that is blood analysis work, that you perform on the scene when you're out collecting evidence?
Yes. Out at the scene, I will perform what is known as presumptive blood tests. That is done so that, well, there are a lot of stains that look like blood, and the presumptive test is a good way to eliminate the collection of stains that are not blood.
So you have performed that presumptive test for blood on how many occasions, sir?
I approximate I've done about 10,000 presumptive tests for blood.
About how many crime scenes have you processed in your experience?
I've processed approximately 500 crime scenes.
And have you ever qualified as a crime scene processing expert in a court of law?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times?
I've qualified approximately 20 times.
Now, were you called out to process a crime scene at approximately 5:30 a.m. on June the 13th, 1994?
Yes, I did. Yes, I was.
And to what location were you directed?
The location was 360 North Rockingham.
You arrived there when?
I arrived there at 7:10.
And when you arrived there, did you make contact with a detective?
Yes, I did.
Who was that?
I was met there by Detective Vannatter.
And what occurred when you contacted him at that location?
Detective Vannatter briefed me on the crime scene. He showed me blood stains on a Bronco, on the driver door exterior handle, and also blood drops along the driveway and a glove on the south side of the house.
I'm directing your attention, sir, to People's 8. Photograph A. First of all, can you tell us who's the gentleman shown in photograph A?
That appears to be me.
That you?
Me, yes.
Do you remember the item that you're pointing to in photograph A?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is what I believe to be a blood stain.
And what is being shown in photograph B?
Photograph B is a close-up of the suspected blood stain with a scale in it.
And for what purpose do you have that ruler in there?
The ruler's there to indicate the size so that we have something to judge how large that stain was.
What does that number 1 in there mean?
The number 1 is a photo ID number used to document the evidence.
Do the photo ID numbers, excuse me, correspond to item numbers in property reports that are prepared by yourself?
Many times they do, but often, but there are times when they do not.
Well, when I say correspond, what I mean is that does every item number have a corresponding photo number?
Yes.